Hey guys, welcome back to Tethan Props. Today I'm going to show you how I went about making Aragorn's lightsaber. So this is an original design. I modeled it myself from scratch and it's just probably my favorite thing that I've ever made. All the way from design, concept to execution, it's just turned out perfectly. And even better, it's got a light and takes a lightsaber blade as well. There we go, look at that. Looks so good. Even got a little bit of detailing in the back there to show through some light. So yeah, I'm extremely happy with how this turned out. Could not be happier. We can remove the blade. I've got a little end cap here for the blade for a little bit of extra detail. But yeah, extremely happy with how Aragorn's lightsaber turned out. So let's get to how I made this. Starting off with 3D printing. But in order to 3D print something, you need the 3D models, and I did that myself. So the main design came looking at just pictures of Narsil. Obviously it represents that sword very well. I took a model from Thingiverse, I'll put the link down below. One important thing that I did was I used the inscription on the sword blade around the midsection of this lightsaber. I used a Tree of Gondor decal, added that, raised a little bit and just chop and changed it a little bit so it would suit a lightsaber shape. Once I had that, it was time to get them printing. I've got a bunch of the pieces for Aragorn's lightsaber here ready to go. The last bit, which is the pommel, is still printing out on my printer over there, so we've got to wait for that one, but we can start gluing together the other pieces. I'm going to glue in the adapter for the lightsaber blade, PVC pipe together as well as some other pieces. But the first thing I want to do is glue on this PVC to this. So super glue is always the best thing to use for this. It's just, as soon as it's on, it's never going to come off. There we go. And this will slide down into the lightsaber like that. Perfect. I need to drill out the hole where the button will come through. So I'm just going to mark that out. I might try and see if I can drill it, glue it, and then drill it in place. Or I might just drill a bigger hole. You know what, I'm going to do that. So now I'm ready to glue this right in there. Oh, I'm so gonna not be able to glue this in time, but let's try. All right, here we go. Hey, got it. See, that right now is not going to budge ever again. So I had one shot and I got it. So now I can glue on some other pieces. So I'll glue on the emitter now. And now I can glue on the two edges, or the two wings. All right, I've decided that this part of the handle, I'm gonna make black leather. So I can start working on that while we wait for the pommel to finish. To do this, I'm just gonna cut out a piece of black fake leather that is exactly the right size here. So I also want, when I wrap this black leather around, I want a couple of ridges, just like on Aragorn's actual sword Narsil. It has a couple ridges on there. So to do that, I'm going to use twine. I'm going to glue it around in place about 1/3 of the way and then 2/3 of the way across. I'm going to glue it down like that with super glue, and then we will get to wrapping this. Next thing to do is to get this leather ready. So what I have to do is put some holes in here, which then I can go and use to stitch back. So just do them, 5's enough. And I'll go in with my Stanley knife, poke a hole. Doesn't need to be a big hole, just enough that later on we can slide the thread through. Take a good length of this. Always take more than you need because it's easy to cut it off later. Now I want to get my contact cement or contact adhesive, put a layer of it over the inside, then I'm going to slot this over and then tighten it up. The reason I'm putting this contact cement on is it means that it'll end up gluing to it and not budging at all. If you don't put this on, it kind of swivels a little bit, which is not what you want. You want it just a solid, glued on, not going to move. So you can put as much of this on as possible. So now it's time. I can slide this over the top and then begin to tighten it up. So putting a dab of super glue where I tie it off means that knot will never come undone. There you go. You can see the ridges that made. Perfect. Alright, so I'll leave that aside to fully dry. Now I've just got to wait for the pommel. I finally have the pommel printed. This is a huge piece. That took a long time to print. That was probably about a 10-hour print on the printer. So what I've done is I've added in a PVC section there, glued that in already, and all that'll do is slot into there like that. So the handle will be that section, this will be the top section, and we'll be able to charge out the bottom. So let's get to the next stage, which is painting. First thing, as always, is to prime the whole thing, so I'll go off and do that now. Put the grey primer down, so now it's time to go over this with black, and then I'll go over it with silver. Alright, let's get to it. I've finished painting the parts silver, and they are looking great. You can really see the detail, the inscription on the blade of the sword that I modelled into the side of the lightsaber. The inscriptions are really coming through. Nice tree of Gondor there, looking great. So, there's the pommel as well. Next thing to do is to glue the handle to the pommel. So this is going to glue in right there. Time to start painting this. I'm going to do a couple different things to paint this. I'm going to do a dark coat with some black, and it's just going to be in all the little grooves and the crevices, and then I'm going to go over it with some silver, and that'll be all the highlights. So you're probably not going to be able to see the silver too well, but it will add that little bit of extra detail. So I've got my black and I've got my silver. Whenever I'm doing the silver highlights, I always use a Sharpie rather than paint, because, or permanent marker rather than paint, because it dries faster. It allows you to give more defined scratches because you only need a tiny bit of this for it to show up. Whereas with, oh, I just put that on myself. With paint, you'll need a lot more of it. So I would recommend, if you can, find yourself a silver permanent marker and use that. So with the black, I'm going to water it down a little bit. And then I've just got to simply start spreading it around, and then I'll go back with my paper towel and just rub off all the excess. To do the silver, just got to take my Sharpie, get a bit of the paint out, and I just want to get a tiny bit on the end of my brush and then go over on all the high spots. So this will look like scratches or just wear and tear on the metal. The trick is not to use too much. The next little bit of detail is the gold sections in there and on the pommel here. So to do that, now I'm using a gold Sharpie. I've got Aragorn's lightsaber. Painting is finished, it's looking awesome. Now it's time to do the lighting. I've got my light here that I use. Incredibly bright, works really well. Now I've got to disassemble it. So first thing I need to do is remove the lens. We just pop this out. There we go. We've got our lens to focus the beam. The next thing we need to do is to cut this up. So I do one cut in here and then I can pull apart the rest of it. So when I take my light and I cut it in this specific section, that pops out. Got to unscrew the end. There we go. That's our lighting section. So I've got a really tough choice to make here. What color do I make this lightsaber? Do I make it green? Do I make it blue? Do I make it yellow? There's actually too many choices. Do I make it like a teal color? I really don't know. So I'm just gonna pull out a bunch of my options. I'm just trying to decide. This is one of those things where I can change later, but I prefer not to. I prefer to just choose it now and stick with it. What color looks the best? With Aragorn's sword. That is a very tough choice. Orange. No. Look, I could do purple. Tough choice. But you know what? Let's do something fun. Go in orange. Yep, I think that'll look really good. The orange, I like how the color bounces off this silver, so the two options are orange or blue. You know, I've already done Gandalf's in blue, so let's do orange. So the components I need, that, and these. First thing I need to do is sand this off so it's a tube, and then sand these down to size. So I'll go and do that now. Got all the pieces, ready to start putting this together. First thing I want to do is just put a bit of tape around the light to hold it together. So I said that you can change the light color at any time, and part of the reasons you can do that is I don't glue any of this part together. I just do it all with tape because it's going to be inside the lightsaber, which means it's really not going to be under much stress at all, which means I don't really need to glue it, and it means that I can go back later and I can change the color. If the LED, if something happens to that, I can go back later and fix it. So it's a non-permanent job, but it's as permanent as I need it to be, as in there won't be any detriment to it in the fact that it's taped together instead of glued together. Right. The order that I'm going to put this in is the two lenses, which I'm going to clean up now, are the two light filters. Just make sure everything is nice and clean before you put it together, because little bits of dust can get in there and then it just stops the light getting through. So you may as well give a quick clean up so it's as bright as it can be. So I've got my 2 filters, my spacer, and then put my lens on the end. So now I'm just going to tape this all together. So that's my lighting system. Nice, bright, orange light. So let's pull this apart. And the good thing about using tape is that I can add a little bit more on, a little bit less, so it's a nice snug fit. Again, I don't want to glue this bit in. I just want to make it a friction fit so that if needed, I can pull it out and I can make alterations as needed. We just want to make sure that our USB extension cable, great, fits in there. So I can charge this, pull this out, and then put it back together and it's good to go. And now the last thing I need to do is put the button in place. Done with that. Put a lightsaber blade in and see how it looks. Perfect. Yep. I am happy with choosing orange. Yellowy orange. Looks more yellow, but that looks great. Alrighty. And that just about does it. Awesome. And there we go, guys. That is Aragorn's lightsaber completed. I am just beyond happy with how this lightsaber turned out. Just, yeah, amazing. All the little details, the little inscriptions that were taken from his sword. Oh, it's just turned out so well. And we can turn it on. It's got a really bright blade. Yellow blade, decided to go with that color in the end. I think I'm very happy with that decision. So there we have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying all my Lord of the Rings Star Wars crossover builds. I'm gonna keep doing them. Haven't decided who I'm gonna do next. Thanks very much, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.